Terrific. All right, we are recording. Good morning, everyone. Today is our November FAS live webinar presentation. Our subject of the day for the month of November is ingredient insights in FAS. We've got a few high-level things we wanted to go over with you that provide some ingredient insights when you're using FAS. And then we'll take some questions at the end regarding those things or anything else you'd like to discuss today. I'm going to see if I can get rid of this little box. All right, let's get started. FAS tools will help to review projected versus actual ingredient usage, forecast future ingredient needs, review ingredient pricing from vendor invoices, and track ingredient contract usage and balances. These are the things we're going to go over today. Requirements to be able to use these tools are you need to have invoice records, first of all, in your FAS system. Ingredient and drug prices need to be entered in your system. Ration mix records also need to be in your system for the rations you're utilizing. And then ingredient contract records need to be entered into the system to be able to report on. We're going to talk a little bit about how these records are used in the Insight tools. The first tool I want to go over with everyone is the Home Console Ingredients tab. You can see over here in your Home Console screen we have different tabs. The Ingredients tab is our first tool that we want to bring your attention to for ingredient insights. Utilizing the information on this tool, you can forecast ingredient usage, you can review ordered ingredient usage and invoiced ingredient usage, and then also review actual versus forecasted total and unit cost of those ingredients. And I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit bigger screen snip of that here. When you launch into the Ingredients tab of the FAS Home Console, it's actually just going to be collapsed with a listing of the ingredients that are being utilized in your system. All of these ingredients have an underline, and you simply click on the ingredient name to expand and view the detail. The ordered quantity, the expected quantity ordered versus invoiced is what's listed first here. Under each column for the ingredient, and then we have some other information. And what you can see is this is laid out by weeks of the year. So we have the year in parentheses behind the week, and then the week number of the year. So this is going to be based on those calendar weeks of the year. In addition to the forecasted usage, the actual ordered and the invoiced quantities of an ingredient, we do show information about the cost from those invoice records. So we have the total invoiced cost, the average unit price, the expected price, and the expected average unit price. So those unit prices come from the invoice records and then also the ingredient and drug price records that you put in the system that tell FAS what your expected prices are. That's why we do require those prices to be put into the system so that we can give you that analysis. In addition to showing you your actual versus invoiced information, we do also forecast out by calendar week, again, what the forecasted ingredient need is. You can tell this is the current week that we're on, week 47. The total forecasted need at this point is a little over 12 million, and we've only ordered 3.3 and invoiced 3.4. So we're still in the middle of this week. So when you see this highlighted red week, this is something where this is incomplete information as far as any of the actual usage. So I really wouldn't pay attention to that until your week is complete and you know you have all of your orders and invoices in to really take a look at your actual versus forecasted usage. You can see here the forecasted usage was a little slim. We out-used what was being forecasted in this case, in this example. Back here it was pretty good. So The intakes are starting to pick up. They're starting to go through a little bit more feed, and we do expect that going into a holiday week. We normally do see that. The forecasted usage is based on the existing groups that you have in your FAS system, the allocation sheets for those groups that tell FAS what rations to expect those groups to consume, and the mix records that you have for each ration. Your mix records is what tells FAS what ingredients and in what quantity should be in each ration. That information is utilized to extrapolate that forecasted need by week for each ingredient. So that's why having mix records in FAS is critical to having your ingredient insights. A couple other reports that we have available in FAS that give you some global ingredient insights are the ingredient pricing tool and the ingredient contracts report. Now, when I say global ingredient insights, we have some specific tools in the system that allow you to look invoice by invoice. We refer to that as the good mix to know if you were invoiced what you expected. Invoice by invoice to look at the invoice data. And we've covered that in some previous presentations. But global insights are that 20,000-foot view, that overall insight or oversight. The ingredient pricing tool is probably one of the reports that that is probably very underutilized, in my personal opinion, out of our tools. To find that report, you go to Global Reports and then Ingredient Pricing Tool. Here's an example of the information that is provided on the Ingredient Pricing Tool report. First of all, when you pull up the report, it's going to provide an ingredient listing down the left margin. This listing is a listing of all of the ingredients that are included in the invoices that are included in your report, based on however you set your filters on the report. And they also provide a summary average cost of that ingredient or that invoice item from all of those invoice records. So for example, lysine, HCl, the average cost is $96.4067. Now, we don't have a specific unit of measure here. This is just a summary of your total cost. So this is a summary of all the invoice records. So to really review that detail, you simply click on the ingredient over here, or the invoice item over here. Like for example, in this example, we have clicked on limestone, and now we can actually see all of the detail of all of the invoice records that make up that summary. This is line by line the limestone record from each invoice that's pulled into this report. So instead of having to sort and filter through all of the other ingredients on an invoice, this is a high-level way of seeing all of the limestone lines from the invoices in your data set. You can see in this information which purchase order number it was, what invoice number this record came from, the owner, the farm, the mill, the invoice date, the invoiced price, the bid price, that's your expected price, and then the total quantity invoiced, and then the unit of measure being used. So you can see we have different units of measure here. Specifically, any invoice records where the invoice price is different than the expected bid price will be highlighted on this report. So you can see if you have any outliers where you're being invoiced something different than what you expected from an ingredient level. We're used to seeing this in our good mix line by line for each ingredient line on our invoice. But this is a way in aggregate to look at all invoices for that ingredient and see where we have discrepancies between invoice price versus bid price. In addition, what you can do if you really want to drill into this is you can go another layer deep and you can click on the invoice number here to actually pull up and display the full detail information of that invoice record, similar to other displays where we see all of the ingredients on the invoice. So these invoice numbers here are underlined and they are in blue, which indicates that they have a link embedded into them. And you simply just click on the invoice number. Oops, apologize there. And that will pull up the full display of all of the details of that individual invoice. So just to kind of recap here, this report, the ingredient pricing tool report, gives you 3 levels of view of your ingredient cost based on your invoice records. First, we give you the high-level summary of the total average cost of the group of invoices the report is returning based on your filters. Then when you select an ingredient, we give you the line item detail of all of the records that make up that average. And then you can drill in one more level to the actual invoice to review specific invoice details of a record that you want to review more in depth. The third tool we want to highlight today in our featured presentation is the Ingredients Contracts Report. Again, under Global Reports, you simply go down to Ingredient Contracts and select the report. Now, of course, you need to have ingredient contracts in FAS to be able to report on them. So please contact support at prairiesystems.net if you need further instructions on how to input your ingredient contracts into FAS for tracking purposes. Once the contracts are in FAS and invoices are associated to them, this report, the Ingredient Contracts Report, allows you that global visibility of what contract commitments you have with your vendors and where you're at in the usage of those contracts, as well as valuations. So here's a good example. This corn contract here was for 100,000 bushels at $4.17 a bushel. So the total value of this contract is displayed. We also show how much was used. In this instance, this contract was actually over applied. The vendor allowed more use of this contract than the initial 100,000 pounds, 100,000 bushels. The value of what was used shows here. Any contract that has actual usage over and above the prescribed amount of the contract is going to be highlighted on this report. Any contract that just has usage and is not expired is going to be highlighted by this report. You can actually go back and review historical contract usage just by changing your values of this report to look at past or expired contracts. So again, this is a really high-level report that gives you that viewpoint of what contract commitments you have put into FAS and how much from your invoices have been applied against those contracts to let you know where you have contract availability and contract commitments for your ingredients with your suppliers. All right. At this point, I'm going to open up your microphones for questions. And let's talk about any questions anyone has about these 3 features in FAS. I will unmute you and unmute you. All right, so who's got questions about those 3 features for ingredient insights in FAS? Quiet group today. I hear somebody snickering. All right. Regina, Matt?
Yes.
Regina, are you utilizing any of these reports today?
No, I don't have to worry. I don't do ingredients much. I mean, I put them in, but I don't do the pricing point of it, Molly.
Gotcha. So in looking at these tools, Who in your mind, in your organization, might be interested in this kind of information?
Jeremy Pfeiffer
Jeremy.
Tyson. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So Jeremy's job is kind of looking at ingredient needs and ingredient forecasting.
Yeah.
And so he might be, who else might be interested in this kind of information? Any other ideas?
Well, probably someone for like the person who puts the ingredients, puts the diets together, our nutritionists. They would like that, probably.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And how about the feed mills?
They would love it.
The feed mills would love to be able to have that forecasting of your forecasted ingredient needs so that they know how to make sure that they have your ingredient supply.
Yeah.
So that is something that can be done, is your mill vendors can be given a login if you so choose and restricted to just their information to be able to run these reports and take a look at the information for ingredient forecasting needs.
Wow.
So I like that. So you're talking accounting. Jeremy's with accounting, right?
Right.
And then you've got
you got your nutritionist who do the diets.
Absolutely. And then you also have your mills, whether that's in-house company mills or your toll mills, that are needing to make sure they've got that ingredient supply lined up for you. So great.
Or I can run them the report for them too if they would ask me. So yeah,
that's
I like that.
Exactly true.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So
we do want to do that. Setting them up that way. Yeah.
Yep. You can provide that information for them as well. So good. Thank you very much for that input, Regina. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions that we have or comments? Doesn't have to be a question. Matthew. Matthew's muted. Here we go. All right. Okay. Well, I am not going to hang on to everybody. This has been a shorter call, but we kind of expected that. With the holiday being tomorrow, everybody's quite busy. This will be, as I said, recorded. We'll get this recording posted up on our YouTube channel for you to review and watch. If you have any further questions about these features or any of our additional features in FAS, please get in touch with us through support@prairiesystems.net, or you know how to reach us at our Spencer office. We are here to support you in use of all of these features and to help educate you on these features that are in the system. So thank you, everyone. Have a blessed Thanksgiving.
You too, Molly. Happy Thanksgiving.
All righty.
Merry Christmas.
And a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
I finally got it working, so it's unmuted it. Sorry.
All right. Well, Matthew, did you have any questions before I let you go?
No, we are good. Thanks, Molly.
All right. Well, you guys have a great day.
Have you too. See ya.
Yep. Bye-bye.